we get started, we could just all like introduce ourselves and just say what your background is in music and what, just around that. Want to start over here at all?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Joy Wagner, and I grew up playing in youth group and still thought that I wasn't called to worship ministry. And then God said, no, you are. Oh. My husband and I are in Fort Todd now, and we've been there for 15 years, so I lead worship Sunday mornings and do children's ministry.
Cool. Very
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Joy? Yes.
Do you like go lead worship and then go do kids?
Yes.
Or okay. Every week?
Every week.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. How about over here?
I'm Mallory Barron. I am from Wapaton, and I am on our worship team as a worship leader, and then also work with our youth students very closely in helping them grow and develop their gifts.
Awesome. How about you?
Hi, I'm Hadley. I'm the worship pastor at Harvest Valley Church in Horace, which is like South Fargo. I've been loving doing that. Church plant, mobile church, so we got all that down. So it's fun. It's been great.
All right. Our room moderator, do you have music in your background?
Oh, no, I don't. but I do a lot. Occasionally, I do stuff with accompaniment tracks at our church, so special and things like that, different times of year. So, but we're at Lake Assembly in Powers Lake, Jerry.
Very cool. How about you over here?
I'm Byron. I'm the pastor at River of Life Church in Stanley.
All right.
Used to help with worship in Minot before we went to Stanley, and I have a worship leader, but I still do once a month. I lead. So.
Okay. What do you play?
Guitar.
All right. Me too. How about
And I'm Chris from Grand Forks, and the lead pastor. Have been for about 12 years, but I was a worship pastor for a long time before that as well. And fun fact, Jerry and I have the same barber. We both go. So that's why we look like bros. But anyway, I just lost 5 of my most long-term worship leading, part of the team that have been there. We're talking 25 years left. So it's pretty much me leading along with just a few people. So
Yeah.
That's a big hit.
it is, really is, because they were definitely some of the most, at least the most talented folks. So, but God knows we're rebuilding now.
Amen.
Yeah. Pull out those skills.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Marcus. A little bit about me. I work with my wife as pastor over at River of Life Church International in Dickinson. My music background is I started playing guitar, and I loved like punk rock bands and stuff back then. That was when I was just like gung ho for like Reliant K and people like that. I was just like, I want to be like them. And God really changed my heart through the years, and I love Christian rock and all that stuff, but for me personally, there's such a different connection with worship, and that's where God really moved my heart. And I know my wife feels the same, and it's just kind of the area that we feel like God's calling us in, and writing worship music and leading worship. So, cool.
Yeah, and I'm Jalyn. Let's see, fill in the gaps here. Marcus and I have been married for almost 9 years. Met at the church. I'm pastoring at the church that I grew up in, and been involved in worship ministry since junior high. Really pressed into songwriting in high school, and it just became such an outlet for me just to process my walk with the Lord, to process my emotions. Has just been like such an important part of my life and my relationship with God. And high school, again, started writing songs more seriously. We did one of my songs for youth group, and that was like the first time that I had the honor of writing a song and actually having people sing along. And so that was a really exciting experience. And the funny story with that, like 10 years later, Marcus and I ended up rewriting it and then actually releasing it. But yeah, have huge hearts for music, for writing. Currently the interim lead pastor in Dickinson, and yeah, we're just really, really passionate about serving God through worship, through music, and hope to just like have have some inspiring conversation today and just
Yeah,
have an encouraging afternoon here.
Yeah, that's awesome. My name's Rochelle, and my husband and I have been pastoring in Jamestown, New Life at the campus pastors. I definitely emphasize more on the music side of it over the years. But you know, at church planting, you kind of just do whatever's needed. But more recent years, it's been a lot more just music, and then we have 3 kids, so involved with all of that. I've been, my mom is a worship leader, so leading worship, music, all of that has always been a big part of my life. And took some like piano lessons when I was a little kid, but then you know you kind of quit, and we moved, and it was always around, but picked up the saxophone in middle school, so I'm not good, okay. But it was fun, and jazz band is awesome. And then, you know, high school, it was like choir and stuff, but yeah, as like in high school, I started dabbling with songwriting a bit. It's kind of the same thing, like you're processing your life, just, you know, you feel drawn to the piano kind of thing. People would say, you know, you should write music, here's a notebook, you know, things like that. And it was like, cool, but what do I do with that? I don't know why, you know, what I'm supposed to do with that. You know, went to college, did all the worship leading stuff, got married. And then in the last, like, about 3.5 years ago, the Lord started, like, really, like, you need to write music, you need to write music. And he just really was breathing on that and making it, like, you need to do this. So I started doing some, like, worship coaching, and part of that was, like, the Lord do the writing and continue to lead worship and stuff. But then it just, like, blew up, like all this songwriting stuff. So I've been getting to record music, and I've taken that very seriously. And it's a process, because you know you can always improve and whatnot, but it's been something that I'm just like, I know I'm supposed to do this. This is like, you know, I have room for improvement, but look how far I've come from where I was, you know. So it's on the scale of life, it's like we're moving forward, and you know, just having that opportunity to write and just sing songs from heaven is such a joy. So yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna kind of start out with more of talking about the why. Like, why is this even necessary for us to write songs for the church? And so we have 3 different songwriting misconceptions. We'll kind of go over just to start it off with, and we'll all just kind of take turns sharing from our own experiences here. But the first one, misconception number 1, is that the best worship songs are written by well-known worship artists and make the CCLI Top 100 list. And I mean, I'll just kind of start off briefly, and then whichever one of you wants to jump in here. But I think that we get in our heads that the best worship music is written by the professionals, maybe off in Nashville, or like they're gathered together with their really large worship teams where they have unlimited resources. And so I think that sometimes we can want to quit before we even start, because why should you write if there's already so many people doing that, and those are the best songs? There's nothing that I can write that actually could stand up to that. But what I would offer as a little bit more of a truth for that is that there's something special that each one of us have for our own congregations, because we know our people. You know who's coming in. Maybe you even know like what direction your church is headed. There's a specific sermon series. There's something that the Lord is doing in your church body. You can write towards that and have such an impact in your local congregation that some other song that maybe, you know, thousands of churches across the world are doing, it might not resonate with your church the same way that a song that you write for them could.
Yeah, that's really good. I think it's to kind of like further that, we have, if you're a songwriter, you have like the ability to write music, or even just a little, you start to press into that, and it's like it becomes like actually a responsibility to do it. It's not just a cool side thing that you could do, although people do that. It's the side thing, but you can actually write music from your heart that is like from the Lord through your relationship with Him, and that you're actually stewarding the gift that God has given you, whether it's on a large scale or a small scale. It's about obedience to the Lord too. And so when He gives you a gift, it's like, oh, I should do something with that. Not to throw my mom under the bus or anything, but my mom was a songwriter, and I always just looked at her and thought, Mom, and she would do some of the songs for our church and whatnot, but I always just thought but you have this you have all these songs, you should be sharing them all the time. But I feel that was a perspective the Lord had given me, and I don't think she was out of the will of the Lord, but at the same time, it's we should share the songs that God has given us, and because you never know how that is going to alter somebody's life and how it's going to impact them.
Yeah. I know one of the first songs Jalyn and I wrote together, it was called Firefall. It's just a really simple chorus that came out of a spontaneous time of worship. And it's just so simple as in the fact of just inviting the presence of God. And I just know when we took that into our church, and we really only sang the chorus, didn't have any of the bone or any of the meat on the bones yet, and people just very much connected with it. And that came out of whatever we were going through in our church at that time. And that's just something that I would encourage you guys too, just to hone in on whatever the preacher is speaking, or whatever's going on during the worship time and people are connecting with, and just seeing what God does with it, and then write down, record what it is that you had an idea with, what God gave you in that moment, and then put some meat on the bones after a while. And but yeah, that's just one instance, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think just not underestimating your own voice. And we had some interesting discussion if you're at the breakfast this morning with Jeff Deo, but there's the idea that the big churches, the people who are already connected, those are the people that their songs easily make it onto CCLI Top 100. Those are the ones that just get the airplay, that become popular. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are working on honing your gifts and abilities, you're pressing into what God is sharing with you, you're not disqualified from bringing your own songs to the church. And I know there's the funny example of no one would ever want their pastor to be getting sermons off the internet and preaching them. That would be very bad. But we're okay with that when it comes to worship, and almost only expect that. So it doesn't mean that every single song is going to resonate. You'll use a lot of discernment with the ones that you do think, let's try this one. But there's going to be times when it's going to hit harder than any song that could come from another group, because God gave it for your specific situation in your community. So don't disqualify yourself before you even start. There's a lot of purpose in that.
Yeah, that's so good.
And then for songwriting misconception number 2, this is that you have to be good at lyrics, melodies, and chords to write a song. Or essentially, you must be good at everything to write a song. And this is just not true. God has given us all different gifts and abilities, and this is really where co-writing can come in and become something that's really powerful. I don't know if one of you want to dive into that.
You look like you want to.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, okay, when we got to this one, a verse really comes to my mind. Verse 1 Corinthians 12:18 through 21. It talks about, but our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where He wants it. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. And when I read that verse, it makes me think about my strengths. And I hope it makes you think about your strengths. You're not going to have every ability down to the T. Like God made us to need others and to work with others to make beautiful things. And when we do it on our own, we can make good things. But when we work with other people, we can make great things. And I just think that's a really beautiful way to look at it when you read that verse, that God made us for people, and we can really help each other out if we look at things that way.
Yeah, that's so good. How many of you have co-written before? Has anybody done that? Okay, you've done a little. Three of you. Okay, cool. Yeah. So kind of like break it down in the room. Like, let's just say it was the three of us sitting there. And then let's pretend we have like a fourth person, because I like think it's four is always a lot of fun. But like we might come into the room in the co-writing session, and like let's just say I don't know, and I don't know actually what you guys are good at. we're almost written together, but I like, let's just say I'm good at melodies, like you're good at lyrics, you're good at the chords, and this person over here didn't give like a lyric or a melody the entire time, but they gave like a lot of really good ideas and like pulled out scripture and was like, I actually think that you can be a part of co-writing and not even be musical, because you can like just truth bomb it like the whole time, and we'll put your name right on there, because it's like these concepts that come, and so about 3 years ago was the first time that I'd ever co-written. You come in and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so free knowing that I don't have to be good at chords. And that was a relief, because that's a lie that I believed, that I had to be so good. Although we can always improve, like we should try to get better in different areas, but it's like you start to work together, and all of a sudden she's like, well, what if we say this word? And I'm like, and then you're kind of just piecing it together, and it's just a really fun creative space where I don't know, you're kind of just, there's an energy that you're bouncing off of each other. So I just think like that is something that is actually like a surprise when it comes to songwriting, and it's such a relief, because I mean, and we talked about it this morning too, but you can come into you can have the mindset of, well, I need to have my name on it so that so I get all the royalties for it, and it's me. And but actually, what's cool is, let's say we write a song all together, and then let's say I record it, and then they benefit from my financial input into that. I took the time to go record it. They're benefiting, and they're sharing the song, and it's like, well, it went so much further than if it was just me. And not that, like, we should write on our own and we should write together, but that co-writing aspect of it really just brings such a beautiful thing. And I wanted to share this one little like story that I had heard. Phil Wickham had written this song. I think it's called "You're Beautiful." That song. And they actually went to record it. They were in the studio. They're like literally recording parts. And one of the people that was in the room was actually a girlfriend of one of the band members, who was not part of the writing crew at all. And she's sitting there while they're trying to figure out all these parts, and she's just, and like the whole team just like, like, we need that, They took her like right there, right on that day, and she became part of one of the writers. But that was the only thing that she contributed to that entire song. But now that song, like, that makes the song. That's the hook, and I just think that is like a cool view of how writing can be, because we're working together and we're preferring each other's like gifts and talents to make it something beautiful.
Just thinking about that too, like what Jeff Deo said this morning too, about like how he had a song fleshed out and he was just like so excited about it, but there was a chorus that was just there, he didn't get there yet. He wanted something better, and he was just waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. When you write a song, it just feels so special to you, and you kind of you have a hard time wanting to share that with other people because it's your baby. You made this.
Yep.
But then, as he got out of that mindset and went to ask for advice, this chorus came together, and it became this really great song. And I think that was just a really good example that he gave on working with others, and like how it's even hard for someone like Jeff Dale, who like we view as this really huge artist. Like he still has issues. I mean, like we're human, and we all have strengths. So yeah.
And one resource that I would, when we're talking again about like the different strengths that we have, I've done a lot of stuff with the writing worship community, and this is Chrissy Nordoff, if you're familiar at all with that name. But if you go to her website, it's chrissynordoff.com/test. And so she spells her, Chrissy is Krissy, and then Nordoff, NORDOFF.com/test. She's done a lot of work. She has a book, but also has like a test online, and kind of her big thing that she teaches on is the 7 different songwriter personalities. And so you can go through this test, and at the end it'll like tell you what your strengths are here, and usually once you see that on paper you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely what I'm better at and what I'm less good at. But there's 7 different things, and it's not perfect to put yourself in a box and be like, this is the only thing I'm good at, because in a different setting people will pull out different things, and we all collaborate and whatnot. But it's just one way of seeing that, even in our own writing, don't have to be good at everything. We should be, have that growth mindset like we just talked about in the session before this, but understand where your strengths are, and then, man, if you can have the opportunities to write with other people who are strong in different areas. I know for myself, melody is usually a little bit weaker one, and so I will very intentionally write with people who I know like, they've got the melodies, they're gonna be able to, like, I'm usually stronger in lyric, and so I know like one of the most favorite songs I've written is called Come Speak to Us. And again, like, I have a pastor friend from Minnesota, and she's so good at melodies, and the song just came together in the most beautiful way, and I wouldn't have done the same without like the melodies that she contributed. And in that same write, there was another woman that kind of a little bit about what Rochelle said. She really just kept giving us ideas. Like, it wasn't exact lyrics, it wasn't melodies, she never sang anything out, but she just kind of kept, she thought so deeply about the Holy Spirit and how we were trying to write, and so much of those ideas, they just made their way into the song. And I love idea people, because I'm like, I can craft that into a lyric and move on with that. But yeah, you don't have to be good at everything yourself. That was
so good.
Really the summary there. And songwriting misconception number 3 is that a worship song will come to you like a download from heaven. And there are rare times that you can sit down at the piano or pick up the guitar, and a song really will come to you. And maybe like 98% of the song came in this 1/2 hour, and it was just this incredible moment with God. And that does, like, it's possible, like, it's happened, but there's also a process, and there's also hard work to finish songs and to get them to a place where this is actually ready to come before your congregation and actually be led.
Yeah, actually, my most relatable to that is a song that I wrote, Chasing Idols. I literally woke up and I had this chorus in my head, and I'm like running to the piano, and I'm like, I gotta get this out, this never happens, and I'm like, cool, I got this chorus, and I go to write the rest of the song, because all I had was really a chorus and kind of a bridge, but it wasn't really. And I showed my producer, and he's like, okay, yeah, why don't you go find some scriptural truths and really get to the nitty gritty of it. It was the hardest song I've ever had to write, because I had to really dig deep, like, what does it mean to be chasing idols? What idols am I chasing? You know, and you're kind of sitting by the fireplace late at night, like multiple times with your husband, like, what idols are we chasing, you know? And you just have this, like, it takes work, and it was hard, and I feel like it was, you know, there were frustrating moments, but at the same time, it caused you to ask the question, what idols am I chasing? And you had the conversation with your husband, and it's like that process of songwriting starts to really come out. So it's like this tension of like, oh, this is hard, and also this is beautiful. And then it comes to the end, and it's like, here it is. And yeah, but I did get a download from heaven, but then it was like, this is hard. So
yeah, I mean, I've had both where I feel like it's been a download from heaven, but also it's taken more consistency to be able to get a song done. And I think one quote from a book that's really spoken into my life was Atomic Habits. I believe it was from this book. It could have been from a different one, but it says, what you do every day matters more than what you do every once in a while. And that right there has been something that's really spoken into my life, just to stay consistent with whatever I'm working on. And one of my biggest things right now is music production. That's something I'm trying to go into more and more. And my wife does more of the songwriting side of things. I love both, but that's just kind of where we're both at right now. And one example though of like a time where I felt like God just downloaded something to me was when I was feeling down on myself on whether I'm a good writer. Like I didn't feel like I could write songs, and I was just like, God, why is this so hard for me? And it seems like it comes so easily to other people. And like I was just like, I was having a hard time, and I was praying, God, please bring some breakthrough in my life. And as I was just like on my knees before God, like this is an area that I want to see some breakthrough in, Lord, and I want to write for you. And he did. He gave me a song right then, just like download. And it was a song called Jericho that we put out, and that was him breaking down some walls of my life. And that song, just like verse to chorus, and bridge, it was just crazy. It all came out, and I don't know if I've had a song like that since, where it just like flowed out of me like that. But it happens. It does, and I feel like the more we, give it to God, what we're having trouble with, He'll speak into it. And sometimes it can be hard. Like, God, would you really do this for me? But He does. It takes some faith, but yeah.
It's a matter of not being afraid of the process.
Yeah. And then we took that into church too, just seeing how we would go in service, and man, oh man, did that speak. Like people were needing breakthrough in their lives, and so people really needed to hear that. And maybe there's something like that in your guys' life, and you're scared to share something with the church, but other people are probably going through what you're going through sometimes, and they need to hear what you're being spoken to about. Like if God's speaking to you, it's going to speak to others.
Yeah. So it's something you said just made me think of this. And I think it's just that partnering with the Holy Spirit, because with songwriting, I guess every person's different in how God speaks to you. But something that the Lord showed me, I want to say like probably 2 years ago now, I was frustrated because every time I went to talk to Jesus, it was either like silence or I'd have some like song in my head. And I'm like, God, I just like want to have a normal conversation with you. And I'm down on myself. It was like dry as you can be, like prayer time on a Saturday. And all of a sudden, the Lord just started telling me that what He was speaking to me was the songs that He was giving to me. And, there are other people's songs that weren't always mine. And so instead of being frustrated that I couldn't hear Him, I just started writing down the lyrics of the words to that song that I was singing or that I had in my head. A couple days later, I'm like, okay, I got up at 5:30, like you're really tired and all this. I'm like, I'm gonna spend time with Jesus, and then it's just like dry toast again. And like, man, this is rough. And I had like a song in my head that I began to write. It's terrible, you guys. Like it was not a good song. But the Lord was like, that was the message I was trying to tell you that morning. no, you don't need to go record that one. But like, that's how he was talking to me. And so I began to realize that songwriting is a vehicle to knowing Jesus. So it's like, I can steward that voice by pulling out my phone and like doing the little voice memos and doing the awkward like in the middle of the night, or whatever, and write down a song as you're laughing, but it's true. Like stewarding those little tiny moments, those are like the micro moments of like, I don't know how you guys feel about Taylor Swift or anything, and I'm not condoning her, but one of her songs was entirely written by like little like memos that she had on her phone, but she like stewarded those little moments. It's just like literally her entire song was written from just little one-liners that she just was writing. And it's in the same way that we can steward that, but it's that as you go kind of thing. He's with us, and as we go, as we're communing with him, he speaks those lyrics and those melodies and those ideas. And you see some really cool, like this one time I was looking at a safe. There's a coffee shop in our town that has like literally it's a bank safe. It's like a big, the wheel. And I'm just looking at it, like, and I took a picture of it, and I couldn't like stop thinking about this safe. And I go back to our co-writing group, and then we wrote this whole song about, you feel like you're on the outside looking in, but you're actually already in. And, but that was like one of those, like, you're looking for the beauty in everywhere you go, because the Lord is speaking to us and giving us revelation, and it's our responsibility to then take that and put it into song form. So, stewarding it, yeah.
I think the biggest encouragement that I can give is just, like, don't be afraid of the process, because sometimes you really do have to work for it, and just because you have to work for it doesn't mean it didn't come from God. Like, it doesn't mean the idea isn't from Him. It's just sometimes, man, we just have to put in the hard work in order to see the results. And I know the song that we're going to be putting out next month started with an idea that, man, just I knew it was what my heart needed, and I really felt like it was from the Lord. But it took so many days of me working it on my own, and then inviting Marcus and another friend into the process, and then we met so many different times on Zoom trying to finish this, and it's like I knew it was going to get there, but it took a lot of work. And so not being discouraged, seeing that it might take a while, it might take a process, or again, you might have those few moments where you're like, wow, I really did write something start to finish, and God was so good, but it might not be that way every time. So don't get discouraged. And then just a couple of things, kind of like a few points on just how to get started, just some encouragement before we maybe just kind of like go into some discussion. But the first one would just be don't put too much pressure on yourself to write a perfect congregational song. And there's way too much to say about church music to fit into a session like this, but you kind of understand what songs in general work in a church and what doesn't. And so sometimes you can put a lot of pressure on yourself that, no, I have to write a song and this has to be for the church. Like, this one has to be able to be sung in church. And if you try so hard towards one goal, it sometimes just squelches creativity in general. Sometimes you have to let the song go the direction that it goes. And it might turn out that, like, maybe this is a song we could do as a special, but it never could be, like, we couldn't actually use it in our worship set. Sometimes you just gotta let the song go the direction that it's gonna go. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to, like, I have to write this. And I can speak from a lot of experience in that. Our last project was music for the church, and so I was very much in this box of everything I write has to be we language, and it has to be accessible. And then when we started thinking about the next music that we were going to write towards, I've just really lifted a lot of those pressures off myself too, and just like, hey, whatever comes out is going to come out. And it's a mix of congregational and more like singer-songwriter stuff. force yourself to fit a specific box here.
True.
I don't know if one of you want to take the next one.
So the next one is just the don't sit down and expect the first song you write to be an incredible song that your church will sing for years and years. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like, there's just a song. I mean, we talked about it this morning, but I believe it was Brooke Lidgerwood that had said, for every 100 songs she writes, only one of them gets produced, which is a little discouraging to think about. You're like, 100 songs? I was thinking that my whole life I would write 100 songs, but as you get into it, you start to see, if I steward this gift, there's more songs that come. I mean, that's just the truth of it, because you can sit and work on a song and it just doesn't resonate, or the timing isn't right, or, I mean, there's so many songs. How many times have we listened to a song in our room, we're like, this one's gonna go awesome, and it's not even one that I wrote, it's someone else, and then we go do it and it's just like, nope, we're never doing that one again. In fact, can I move on from this song as quickly as possible in the moment? But that doesn't mean it doesn't have purpose. It just doesn't have that in that moment in your church, or it might be more of a worship night song or a whatever. So yeah, I just think that is just such good truth right there, and to not just be so down on yourself. So
I think I'll let you touch on that.
Yeah, then I'd also say don't worry if your song sounds different than popular worship songs. It's hard because worship is its own box, but we don't want to just completely imitate everything that we're hearing, and that's hard because we're going to be listening to it and we're going to be saturated in it. But if you're writing something that you're like, man, this is just really different than what I hear, that's probably not a bad thing. And in fact, that might be, like, your sound might be exactly what your church needs. So even if the song is a little bit more out there, or you're like, oh, this song has like a country flair, and I've never really heard anything on the radio like this, but maybe all my people in church, they're like listening to country music anyway, and they love this, and so I'm going to bring this forward, and it's going to become the new anthem for the church. It's okay if it's different than what you might typically hear. And then, I would say just like we've kind of already touched on this, but lean into what God is speaking to you through Scripture. Lean into the direction your church is heading, the kinds of messages that are being spoken, and turn that into lyrics and ideas. Keep notes on, man, it would be really awesome if we had a song that would fit in this circumstance or for this situation. And then, just always being open to Scripture, because not every single song idea is going to be initially sparked through the Word, but there's a lot of songs that will be just from what we're reading.
Yeah, there's a song that I was able to record 2 weeks ago now. Wow, that's weird. But we wrote in this co-write group, and it was, as we were talking, it was this message, and all of our hearts, we were just like, sometimes life just feels heavy, and I can't wait to be with Jesus forever and ever. And it was that, better is one day than 1,000 elsewhere with you, Lord. And so we wrote this song called All I Desire. And we both, all three of us, four of us, we got to the bridge part, and it was like, everything about it was just like ever so slightly off. Like, we just wanted to declare, like, all that I have within me, like, God, all I want is to be with you. And we worked at it, and we were able to really get to that point where it was like, this is it. And it was luckily a song that did go well in my church, because we have just some people in our church that just love to pray, and they love to really go after Jesus. And so when we brought this song, it was one of those like beautiful moments where you know, nobody even knew the song, but they're singing it like they did. You know, and we're like, yes, this is it. But it's like, it doesn't always go that way. But it, because we were like desperate for God and really just putting the heart that, you know, collectively our churches were having, like this, like life is heavy. There's a lot of heavy things going on. We're able to come out with this song that, you know, everyone can relate to, that, you know, so, yeah.
We could talk about the last one. So, do send your song to someone and get feedback. So, we just talked about a song we just put out, and so this is one where, me personally, I want to always be learning and be viewed as someone learning too, not that someone that just knows everything. And I was gonna mix our song we just put out, and I did, and I also got it paid for and mastered, and we had it put into the system to be put out in the world. But Jalyn and I had some cold feet about it, and we're just like, well, do we believe in this song right now and the product? And I just wanted to get advice, because for some reason it didn't feel like it was to the point where it was great yet. It felt good. It felt like I did a lot of it, and I didn't go to anyone else for help. And so I sought out some other people that I trust in, and they gave me advice. And I heard some hard feedback, and I was just like, ugh. We put it in the system already, but I think we're gonna do what they said, and we're gonna do the extra steps to get it to where we want it to be. And so we, even though I mixed it, I sent it to someone else, and we were just blown out of the water. Like, we really loved the product. And I think that's something that we need to all learn too, is to learn to get feedback from other people and not try to do it on our own all the time. Like, I'm always, like, I started where I wasn't very good at producing at all. I feel like I'm in a place where I can do really well as a producer. I'm probably, you know, at the bottom part of mixing, but I'm gonna get to that point where I feel confident as a mixer, and I'm gonna keep doing that, like, on the mastering side of things. Those are the three things in production, is the producing, mixing, and mastering. And so I've kind of worked my way up on each one. And if you're not feeling confident on one part of it, seek help, you know, seek feedback from others and learn from others. That's what I'm always trying to do, and it has always paid off. Always paid off for me to trust other people, that if I can't do it all myself, so.
Yeah. And I think that's like the point of even like what we're trying to kind of start here in the network, is to be able to do some writing together so that we can give each other feedback, so that you know people personally that you can say, hey, would you take a look at my song and just like give me some ideas, or that we can actually be writing together and working off of each other's strengths, because there's something just really beautiful in that.
Yes, for sure.
That's good stuff.
So yeah, I don't know if we would like want to open it. We still have like 15 minutes here. If anyone like has anything that they want to share, or any questions, just like type of discussion here to wrap it up.
I'd love to hear your originals, and Hadley, you've got some originals too, probably?
Not out,
Not yet?
actually. That's why
But
I'm
if you
really
have
glad
any
to be
place
here.
online, any of you, I really want to listen.
Yeah,
I love original stuff, so
Okay.
for sure.
I'd love to listen. So before I go, I hope
Under
there's
our
a
names.
address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just under
Yeah.
Marcus and Jalyn.
Marcus
Yeah,
and Jalyn
same.
McGill, yeah.
You
Okay.
just, yeah.
Yours is,
Yeah, mine isn't in there because I didn't fill out the form. But I'll tell you.
yeah. So it's like a YouTube channel that you're.
YouTube, Spotify, iTunes,
So
anywhere.
when you say in the system, you mean we put it on
Yeah.
Spotify?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that, all right, so it's just, is it like all one word, marcusjalyn.com or something?
Marcus and Jalyn McGill is our artist name. So if you look that up, you.
Their stuff's good. It's
It is.
yeah, it's fun to listen to.
Oh,
Jalyn.
Thanks for sharing it.
Jalyn.
Jalyn.
JL.
That's a common. Yeah, you can spell it the other way.
Marcus and Jalyn, and you said the last name, I'm sorry.
McGill, McGill.
MCG. So if I type that in, either of those places, it'll
Oh
come.
yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah,
How's yours?
Rochelle Heilbrun. So it's ROCHELLE. And then my last name's HEIL. Did I say that? I was like, did I say A? Heilbrun. Brun. In is Heilbrun.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, mine's the same. It's, you know, and if you ever are doing music, this is just something I didn't know. But when you go to upload the music, it's like, it will just say sending to all the stores basically, and then you can choose different extra features that, yeah, so it's pretty neat. They just do all the work. Well, they do that part of the work. We do the other work. But,
And do you have yours out anywhere, Heather?
No.
Nothing?
That's why I'm here.
Okay.
I've been very nervous to do these steps of releasing and stepping out, but
But they're good.
what's yours? Whenever I do it, do you have
Pastor Chris at vccaog.com. So
Pastor Chris?
PastorChris.
One more time.
At-
Sorry. Pastor
Pastor
Chris.
Chris, yeah, CHRIS, that, and at V is in Valley, CCAOG.com. That'd be great, yeah.
Okay, deal. I'll make sure you're
I
on
would
this.
love to hear them. Anyone else writing here too? Has originals, do you join?
No,
I do,
I
but
mean,
I
I have
don't-
stuff written, but
I
So
have
you
stuff
know.
done.
yes.
It's not like professionally mixed or anything. It's just me at the piano, so it's really raw.
Well, that's all right. It's on
But
YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
under your name or?
I actually don't know the name of my channel. I made it up like a ton of years ago for my family, so
So
I will. Let me write down your email and I'll send it to you.
Okay,
Okay.
same thing.
I think my
Pastor
channel
Chris.
name is Wegner's for JC.
Oh,
there you go.
So, but you know how our last name is spelled? Weggeners. It's different.
okay.
And it's not just music. There's I think a couple sermons from Brandon that got on there.
Yeah.
Some stuff
Is it
from
the
my
same
kids.
one where he's preaching with the cool pulpit looking? No, is that?
Which one?
Because he doesn't he have a YouTube channel where he's preaching?
No, well before COVID, I think we were putting some stuff on YouTube, just kind of trying things out. But we ended up not. I think were you talking about the funny pulpit?
Yeah,
The
interesting
funny
pulpit. That is,
Yeah, so that was we were doing that for Bible study, and
Okay.
then he ended up liking the more interactive format. So
Okay, gotcha.
we're putting it out there, but yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for like, I don't know how to say this. I wrote some songs a long time ago when I was helping with worship with Mina, and then I became a pastor. I haven't written anything since. And when I got there and I was in charge, there was a temptation to go, oh, I can be the worship leader now and I can play my songs there. And I was like, I'm not gonna play any of my songs. So we've been there a really long time, and I've thrown in occasional. I throw in one, and I've had a few people say like, is that recorded anywhere? Can we get it? And I was like, I don't have a clue how to record. I don't know where you go to get your song recorded. I'm totally clueless, and I'm not thinking that I need to get out published.
Sure.
But do you have thoughts on it? I mean, even the mixing. I wrote the chords. The worship team plays it with me because I give them the chords.
Sure.
But
Do you have like a live stream?
at church.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a way you can also listen or like.
And that has been one because the one guy said, well, for practicing bass, I said, well, you can go back to whatever Sunday it was.
Yeah.
And you can watch it and then you'll pick it up.
Yeah, but otherwise it could be as simple as just, getting a microphone and plugging into your system, and then just finding like GarageBand is a really simple DAW that's free.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you could plug in a mic for your voice and for your guitar, and try to just do a live version of what you're doing.
Yeah, if you're looking at for like, like maybe like a reference track for someone, or like someone who's like super loves the song and just like wants to get the message with them. There's a lot of like simple ways to get, at least like a clear, clean recording of something, so that like
How you do that.
And sometimes it's just as simple as doing a voice memo on your phone too.
Honestly.
Yeah, because as songwriters, we go back to that all the time and listen to it.
Okay.
And if, that's the easiest way, I feel like.
Yeah, if you like pick a room that doesn't have too many echoes, find the most dead room you can find,
Yeah,
and
sure.
just like honestly, like the phone does pretty good for like here's
outside of the box of what is praise and worship, contemporary praise and worship. That's so good to hear for young folk like yourself. I'm glad that hopefully there will be more of that sense of just receiving that creativity again that breaks through those boundaries and takes people in different directions, but obviously in the same direction to the Lord. But there's so many more colors, so many more. There's such a huge palette artistically that could be used, but isn't being used in praise and worship as it is, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, in the next few years, things will.
Yeah, and I would say also to not even limit yourself with just worship music, because I've heard it said too, just that whatever it is that you feel like a drawing to write, just write that. You don't have to be a worship songwriter or a country singer or this or that. I mean, because the thing is that God put a song inside of you, and so that's your artistic expression. That maybe Jalyn doesn't like my music, but maybe Joy does, and my music might touch her differently than, and I don't know, I'm not saying you don't like it. She's like, I hate it. but and like even just like the melodies and lyrics, what I've gone through in my life might touch Joy differently than it does Jalyn because of what I went through in that season when I wrote it. And I don't know if you would guess this, but I really like R&B music, so I was like, I want to write that, but I don't. I'm working on that. but I also have gone through some different struggles where it's just like those wrestling through the hard things kind of songs, and I wouldn't sing those probably on a Sunday morning because it would be weird, but it's good to be able to have more than one expression of music, because it actually inspires. If you do want to write worship music, I feel like it inspires that more, because you're not only funneling to that one thing, you're expressing in lots of ways. So
I had a random question, but going back to like talking about the local church and some of the songwriting. So our church, we're stepping out in end of August, and we're gonna do a songwriting night with our worship team. And so doing that, obviously, like, that's very out of my depth, considering I haven't really done much of that, but I really feel strongly that we're supposed to do it. So I would love to know, how do I kind of take the ideas that are coming, funnel it through? Obviously, I can ask you more personal questions about this as I get closer, but even how do you include the lead pastor? How do you include all the different voices? And how do you find something that's for the church? Because it's, like you said, not every song is going to be for the church, but how do I, as the leader of that, continue to funnel it correctly? It's a big question, too.
So I think before you can write a worship song, I think, people just in your church that have that kind of gifting just need to know how to write. So it's almost like you have to have just the basis, and I would almost even say, like, take the pressure off. Like, give it a good year or two. If you're consistently doing it, give it a couple of years, because they're learning and you're learning. Like, what do I even do? How do I even communicate with other writers? I've never even done this myself. And the biggest thing to me is like creating a safe space, like, because you're writing with people who, let's just be real. Like, musicians were emotional, and like. You just said that my idea sucked, and so now I'm not going to share anything else. I'm going to go sit in my corner. But if you create that sort of like safe, there is no bad idea, and even if it is a bad idea, don't say it's a bad idea. Just, what if we do this? And you kind of like just steering it to where we're not necessarily trying to write a specific worship song for our church, but ultimately that is the goal, but just getting them to be in the practice of even writing, I think, would be good. And then you can kind of goof off and write songs about, I don't know, growing.
Yes.
Cheese. I mean, and,
Yes.
and that I think brings nice team building. If your pastor wants to jump in, cool. But I would just get people who are creative in a room and just go. So.
How many like people do you think?
Yeah, so it's completely right now. We're not sure. I've invited the 20 people we have on our musical worship team, but I know that not all of them are going to want to come. I'm not sure. I haven't extended any invitations like to the pastor or other people in the church. And I've been very clear that this is going to be, we're just going to get together and try some stuff. It doesn't mean we're going to have a song in a month.
Yep.
And so that's really good to set those expectations up front and to remind them what we're doing. But yeah, I want to step out, and I don't want to wait until I feel comfortable to do it before I do it at all.
Yeah, true.
And so that's where those of you who have done stuff like this, I very much value how you've done it, and I want to learn how you did it.
I feel like again, like I think you had brought it up earlier, like even the non-music people, but the deep thinkers.
Yeah.
Like if you also put that out there, that it's okay if you can't sing,
Mm-hmm.
because like I have a mentor in Texas, and she's not well. She used to be musical. I didn't realize that until afterwards, but. I like invited her as more of like everything you say, every time we talk, there's just so much amazing stuff. I go home and I write songs off of what you say. So why don't you just come and join me here? And so, I mean, I would almost extend that out too. If like, you know, there's the other pastors that, or the deep thinkers, the leaders that would probably have a lot of ideas for that. And then, I mean, I think breaking out is always the biggest. Like,
Kind of
you
figured.
can't have 10 people write one song.
Didn't think so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keep it small, and then rotate people too, because not everyone's gonna like click in the same way.
I will say though, with the 10 people, sometimes you might have a few who do know, and then others who don't know, and them seeing you do it is helpful for them. So you could have like moments where you're all together, but it's not like the big end all, because it would be really hard. I was gonna say something, I lost it.
I'll probably keep reaching out to you guys anyway.
It's good.
But I figured it's
really
really good
awesome.
to the group.
That's what I was gonna say. Actually, like 10 years ago, we interned here at Evangel, and Scott Flaughton was. So for a little while, we were doing these get together, write song things, or we didn't write songs together, but he gave us assignments to write songs, and so it would be like write a song on this topic, and then it was once a month we would come and we would do our song. And you know, sometimes I didn't show up with a song about that, but I wrote something else, and I don't know, I thought that was a good like exercise.
That's a good exercise.
Because it can give people like a goal of something to shoot for instead of just write a song and then
That's good. That's how I learned. Jeff Dio made me do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's like, well, in reality, we just have practicality of it's not a mysterious thing. It's a really practical, step by step thing. So
Yes.
yeah, it's good stuff.
3:59.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
So, like, on a song that you decide to go through production and all the steps to finish the product, do you have like a certain budget that you're trying to keep in? So, like, what would an average song cost to take all the way to Spotify?
It differs with who you go to.
We have, thankfully, like Marcus is best at production, which tends to be the most costly thing. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm not super familiar with like production prices, but I like mixing a song plus mastering anywhere from like
$200 to $600
that's just
for
mix.
mixing, and then mastering can be like around $200 for a really good master.
And then depending on if you want it to be like a full band song that's getting engineered with all the parts, or do you just want to sit down and play the piano and sing your song live? You know, that also changes the price, because it's more work on the producer, engineer, and so, you know, I just did well, it's hard because there was other added things on. So, yeah, it depends on your person, but we know people
Yes,
you can
if you
reach
want
out.
specifics.
My brother he has a studio and he does all that stuff, sound engineering and everything, but he's down in Oklahoma, so that's not really a lot of help to me.
Yeah.
If you
But-
can find someone,
I could go to Oklahoma.
if you can find someone local to do your vocals,
Yeah.
you can really do remote stuff.
That's our day and age. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is really
Yeah.
cool. I would
Yeah.
say like per song, I don't know what, like $1,000 probably for like a fully produced.
Very conservative.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
conservatively 1,000. But if you were to just sit at the piano and sing, it could be anywhere from $300 to $900. I don't know, but I will say that if you have song in you and you just step out, because like I'm not saying this in any sort of like boasting at all, but the Lord put it on my heart to do it, and I was just sitting down with Josh the other day. We realized that like in the last 3 years, I've raised $20,000, and I didn't realize that. But when you really like lay it all out, it's like, dang, like he told me to do it, and he like funded it, and I'm not in debt, so I don't have any extra from it. But
That's okay.
so yeah, but he will bless you. You just take out a step, and yeah, he'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this, just the co-writing thing, because that's where I feel like I would love to write, but then have other people sing them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'd rather just kind of like write in the
Yeah, I
background
know,
than
I'm gonna-
have other
Yeah.
people sing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get your info, cause yeah. So yeah, cool.
Cool. Guess that's all we have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
Yeah.